Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Robert Phoenix here, broadcasting to you live from Fredericksburg, Texas. The 8th of April, 2020, in the midst of the Libra super full moon, meaning that the moon appears to be closer to the Earth than at other times, and working out our balance to the current situation that we find ourselves in on many different levels, physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, relationally, and so it goes. So let's check out who's in the chat as we move into today's show. See what's going on in Chatlandia. We got Tamara first in Tamara. Good morning. There's Natasha, 10 Dragon. What's happening there? Ian, hi Ian. Jennifer, there's Joan. Hi Joan. Judy Anderson. Hello Judy. Unka, Joe Dimitri, Michael, DJ MC. Cindy Burton. Hi Cindy. Nice to see you. Michael W. Wakey Wakey World. There we go. I like that. So we're just casually, slowly filling up the arena here. Holden Surfer Girl. Happy Wednesday from Australia. I got a little surfer video for you today, Holden Surfer Girl. There's Christy. Hi, Christy. Nice to see you again. I'm just going to wait till the sheriffs come into town. Sheriff Steve and Sheriff Ani. It is hump day. It definitely is hump day. Remember the Humpty dance? Digital Underground? Doing the Humpty Hump. Doing the Humpty Hump. Shock G. You know, Tupac Shakur was an early member of Digital Underground. He was one of the dancers, and he came on to be a rapper. There's JMP Love. What's happening, JMP Love? Pink Supermoon. Yeah, that was a biggie, huh? Looked like a big giant chunk of round Himalayan salt in the sky. It was a biggie for sure. We'll still see some of that tonight as well. We're still in the full moon phase, although it is slightly waxing. And about 2 weeks from now, it'll look like a chunk of cheese in the sky. Here we go. Got a lot to talk about today. Lots going on. Obviously, we're dealing with a moving target here, and we're going to try to keep it in the crosshairs. I have some good news on the computer front. Just to let you know, I had a great discussion with a guy in Austin yesterday, and looks like I have solved my computer issues, hopefully, and they'll be getting a dedicated computer for streaming, just for streaming, nothing else. And it's going to be the Maserati of streaming computers. So I'm going to do everything in my power to upgrade the broadcast here for you on a daily basis, as long as we can continue to have these moments of uninterrupted, sort of looking for connection in exchange. I got my stats back from YouTube for the following month, and they're really up and to the right, as they say in the marketing world. So I'm really psyched about that, and I have a lot of people to be thankful for, and grateful for, to continue to kind of raise the roof on this thing, particularly Steve Mercer, who's working out and doing just a great job on the Friday shows. And big coup for Steve, by the way, with Andrew Kaufman. There's Mary. Hi, Mary. There's Lynn. Hi, Lynn. Good to see you. Lynn sends me the best stuff. Lynn is like my Cub reporter. Lynn is like my Jimmy Olsen. She sends me the best stuff. Amanda, 44. Hey, Amanda. Happy birthday, Amanda. That's awesome. Good number, 44. There's Christine. Hey, Christine. All right. We got the sheriff. Sheriff Ani's in the house. Mojo Mama, you're getting old. Just think of it this way. Think of it this way. In a time of no time, how can anyone get old? Just wrap your head around that. We're in a time of non-time, so nobody's getting old. You know, I have this theory that Mercury retrograde got frozen. I got to look at that, but it feels like Mercury retrograde might have gotten frozen with this non-time thing. So we might be in Mercury retrograde forever, at least until we get the vaccine. Is there a vaccine for Mercury retrograde? I bet Bill Gates is working on that. You know, this Mercury retrograde thing really does seem to be a bit of an issue. And the way that we're going to attack Mercury retrograde is with a Mercury retrograde vaccine. And if you get the vaccine, guess what? You won't have to go through Mercury retrograde 3 times a year. And we figured this out by having the vaccine slow your body down during certain times of the year. Can't wait for Mercury. I know, right? It's been in Pisces forever. That's how Mercury retrograde feels me. Yuck. Let's see what we have here. If you believe in reincarnation, you're never old, just closer to being reborn. Yeah, all these ideas of life and birth and death and rebirth and karma and recycling, everything's up now. It's all up for some level of retrospection. My life is going better now than the past 20 years. I would agree with that. My life is great. And Mercury isn't a good swimmer. No, he's not. You know what's really interesting is in the rush to have certain superheroes become quite popular over the last couple of decades, there seems to be one superhero that was left out of the mix, especially in the Marvel pantheon, and that is the Submariner. And the Submariner is the Marvel version of Aquaman, and in fact, the Submariner predated Aquaman considerably. And by the way, Aquaman had blonde hair. He didn't look anything like Jason Momoa. Since nobody has blonde hair anymore, I don't think they could have cast an actor. Can you name like one popular blonde-haired actor under the age of 40 right now? I'm not sure I can. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time thinking about it. And I'm talking about a guy, not a woman. Like, who could actually play that role? I guess they could dye somebody's hair blonde. Maybe they could bring Wesley Snipes back and dye his hair blonde to play the Submariner. Anyone know what comes of the drone? What come of the drones in Utah, etc.? Well, why don't we jump right in there, Eagle? It's a good question. And the drones are going to be introduced with more frequency here. I'm going to show you a little bit of a clip. This is from a website called Todd Starnes or Starnes. So I'm going to bring this up here, and I'm going to show you what's up. Watch as drone hovers. I got to do this. I wish I just had an automatic thing because I got to play the audio on this. This is going to be my yoga from here on out, right? My yoga from here on out is to make this click. My mindfulness is to make the click before I do screen share. And now I'm sharing the whole damn screen, which I really don't want to do. Let's try that again. My apologies. Lo siento. Lo siento. Is that it? Why isn't that showing up as a screen share? I'm having a hard time with this. One more time. One more time, Clementine. Let's try it this way. All right, I'm just gonna think that because I'm not seeing the border. All right, here we go. So this is from Todd Starnes. CBS News obtained video of a drone hovering over New York City Park. The drone broadcast a message about maintaining social distancing. This is the anti-COVID-19 volunteer drone task force. So apparently these drones volunteered. Isn't that great? In a time of crisis, even the drones are committing to making America a better and safer place. Can we have a moment, just a moment, to thank the drones for volunteering? So what happens when they volunteer? Does that mean they get taken off of their corporate service? These drones, they just have nothing but the best of intentions for all of us. So this is I'm going to play the video. Hopefully you guys can see this. And this is from CBS News right here. Check this out, if it's still up. Look at that. Oh, here it is.
Anti-COVID-19 volunteer drone task force. Please maintain a social distance of at least 6 feet. Again, please maintain social distancing. Please help stop the spread of this virus. Reduce the death toll and save lives. For your own safety and your family's safety, please maintain social distancing. Thank you for your cooperation. We are all in this together.
There you go. Should I replay it again? We are all in this together. Thank you, volunteer drone.
The anti-COVID-19 volunteer drone task force. Please maintain a social distance of at least 6 feet. Again, please maintain social distancing. Please help stop the spread of this virus. Reduce the death toll and save lives. For your own safety and your family's safety, please maintain social distancing. Thank you for your cooperation. We are all in this together.
We're all in this together. 8,681 people are talking about this. I bet you a lot more are talking about it now. So this is how it begins. The March of the Drones begins to enter into our consciousness and into our lives. And by the way, do you think that that's just a straight message in a loop that's on that drone? I guarantee you it's not. There's probably cameras, high definition, high resolution, biometric scanning. That's part of that drone. It's a big drone. That is not some kind of like little mini drone. That's a big drone. And there's a lot of other equipment. There's heat sensing. There's all kinds of things that are attached to that drone. It's not just kind of a, PSA, a flying PSA. It's more than that. So this is where it begins. Okay, this is where it begins. They begin to introduce the drone technology vis-a-vis safety, of course. And it's kind of right out of Brave New World. If you've ever read Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, there are these undercurrents of public announcements in Brave New World, which are always sort of telling people what to do for their safety. They're not threatening per se, but they're always reinforcing some kind of control behavior or behavior control. So what's really interesting, again, being connected to drones is the fact that there is a guy by the name of, let me see if I can find this thing. I pulled this up. Hold on. Got all these screens open. Let's do this. When I get this new computer, the lag time on stuff is just not, it's going to be non-existent. I'm so looking forward to this. I'm so looking forward to this. I can't wait. Because now I've got to wait forever for this thing to pop up, this search to pop up. Come on now. I mean, normally I have these things all revved up and ready to go. But this is the one thing that I did not grab. So let me try this today. Try and get this out of here. And let's see what we have here. All right. I'm just going to sort of blurt this out prior to this thing. So Bill Gates recently did a TED talk back in March. I think it was March 25th, because Bill Gates is everywhere now. He's everywhere, and he's always laughing, and he's always having a really great time. Like this is, this is like New Year's Eve, Bill Gates's birthday party, Christmas Eve, and any other celebratory day for Bill Gates, all rolled into one. All rolled into one. So this is a great time. He's celebrating. He's laughing. I'm surprised he's not drinking champagne when he's doing these interviews with these very. And he's everywhere. He did this thing with Trevor Noah, another little trader, pipsqueak trader. So this is I'm getting closer to the actual video, and this is the TED Talk with Bill Gates, and he actually talks about the vaccine certificate, but that got edited out by YouTube. Gee, I wonder why. I wonder why it got edited out by YouTube. I'm going to talk more about the vaccine certificate in a bit. So let's. This thing is trying to, get fired up here, taking forever as usual. So here we go. TED, ideas worth spreading. Isn't that interesting? Like it's a virus. And let's see what we have here. All right. So I'm going to show you a picture. All right. Here we go. First of all, Gates. First of all, Gates has this theoretical window behind him. Is that even real? Is that really his Xanadu, his fortress of solitude? Or is that just a screen backdrop? Now, this is Chris Anderson. And Chris Anderson is the guy that curates all the TED Talks. And TED Talks are a nonprofit. And I haven't drilled down into their financials, but I'll bet you this guy contributes greatly to the TED Talk form, the TED Talk format and program. Now, Chris Anderson used to work for Apple at one point in time, if I'm not mistaken. He either worked for Apple or he's a journalist that covered Apple extensively, and he wrote a book called The Long Tail. And this book sort of changed digital economics back in the mid 2000s. And I actually worked for a company who created a business model and went public based on Chris Anderson's theory of the long tail. The long tail meaning that there would be content that could pay off into the future if you had the rights to certain content. So this company basically said, okay, we've got this long tail formula ready to go. And then we've created an algorithm which allows us to go out and secure content. And once our initial investment is paid off with that content, we'll be owning that content for the next 3 to 4 years, in which case these are the projections of that we're by using Chris Anderson's model that we'll be able to convert our investment into a profit. Needless to say, the company didn't last very long because, well, many reasons. Because the market didn't develop in a way that supported that kind of model. So, in essence, what Chris Anderson wrote in terms of a kind of a revolutionary thesis on this thing called the long tail is kaput. But it gave him enough credibility for a while, and then he went on to become one of the leading proponents of drones and drone technology. And he was, and I covered this years ago. This is like 2013, 2014. And he was getting his footprints all over the drone world. And then he morphed into Mr. TED. So this guy has been an industry insider for years. Look at this place, man. He's got a nice pad. He's got a very nice pad. Looks a little bit nicer than Bill's in some ways, although who knows where Bill Gates actually is. So I'm showing this to you because of his relationship with the last subject I was talking about, which is drones. So Chris Anderson is promoted as a guy who promotes these kinds of life-changing technologies, or edge-based technologies. And I guarantee you, Bill Gates thinks of vaccines as a technology, not as a medicine, but as a technology, and that the body itself is a series of systems, circuitry, fluids. The body is a mechanical vessel. I guarantee you that that's how Gates views this, since he comes from a eugenicists or eugenics background and family. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of background around Chris Anderson and what Chris Anderson is up to. And I haven't looked at the full funding for TED Talks, but again, I'm betting that this guy is putting out a lot of cashola in this direction. It wouldn't be, that would be an informed wager, because TED Talks doesn't really charge for their stuff, right? They may charge for other things, but they don't charge for the bulk of their programming. Programming in quotes, by the way. So the drone world is beginning to creep and seep into our consciousness. And there's obviously going to be more. And there's a few other things I want to share with you today that are chilling, actually, in their implications. I want to talk a little bit about the mask situation. Now, they're encouraging people. This is now the next level of the creep, is wearing masks. Okay. It's an interesting kind of thing, this mask piece, because it's twofold. Number one, the mask creates a barrier between you and another person. And it's another extension of this kind of soft version of home arrest that people are in. So the mask, is the veil. It is the curtain between you and another person, right? It cuts off half of the face so that, you can't, the mouth is a very expressive, it's a very expressive part of the face. If you ever watch the great comedians, they have these very plastic faces, and their mouths are, selling like half of their jokes, like Richard Pryor and Bill Hicks. Those guys have really plastic faces and can do a lot of stuff. And so the mouth is a really important part of being able to share and express emotion. And so that's cut off, right? That's another layer being cut off. And it creates kind of this feeling of this dystopic world. So you walk outside and you look around and you see these people that are wearing masks. And I'm seeing this with more frequency now, by the way, a lot more frequency. Yesterday, I rode my bike down to the market. I go to the market every day. And I go to the market every day for a couple of reasons. One is, like, I like to buy, sort of a meal on a daily basis, like get one thing and just, eat that one thing, whatever that is. So I do that. And I look around also to see what's happening with people and their vibe and their psychology and their consciousness. And I also look to see what's happening in terms of the stocks of the stores and what's selling, what's not selling, what's there and what's not there. And I can tell you that this is a very interesting kind of, look who's here, the astrological cat. There he is, on the scene, diamond in the back. How's it go? Diamond in the back, roll top back, dig in the scene with the gangster lean. Ooh, ooh. Love that song. Yeah. It's a lowrider tune. It's a lowriders. I lived in San Jose, California, one of the capitals of cruising and lowrider culture. And I had a weird childhood, man. I had a weird high school. One night I found myself in a lowrider cruising like Story and White with with my Chicano brothers. Yeah, baby, that was a trip. I'm sorry, my high school experience was quite eclectic. So anyway, what was I talking about? I was talking about this whole thing with the masks, which I think is interesting because the food. So things are coming back to the store now. This is interesting. It was like there was this massive wave. Like the Huns hit the stores. There's still no toilet paper, which I find quite interesting. There is no toilet paper at HEB. None. And there hasn't been any toilet paper there for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's all gone. Other places you can get some toilet paper, but not HEB. The cleaning products pretty wiped out. But I was there the other day to make sure that I could still get some coffee. And there was I like to drink that Cafe Bustelo coffee. It's quite good and it's very affordable. So I went there and there was one can left of Cafe Bustelo. I'm like, do I want to take that can? Do I want to take the last can? Do I want to be last can guy? And I said, no, I'm not going to take that last can. And sure enough, 2 days later, coffee galore. There's coffee everywhere. There's more coffee there that could last me through 3 or 4 lockdowns. So I like, oh, see, I didn't take that last can of coffee. And look what happened. Like I really had something to do with it. But it's kind of an interesting mindset. So things are starting to come back to the stores now. And HEB has done a absolutely remarkable job being able to keep these stores filled. But again, are we going to have another wave now? Because Dr. Deborah Birx, whose daughter is part of the Gates Foundation. I mean, the 6 degrees of separation with these crooks is beyond. It's beyond coincidence. It's beyond synchronicity at this point. And it's like, again, we have to ask how informed. I mean, again, if he's playing like 10D chess, then maybe he allows Birx and all these people to do their things and hang him. When there's enough rope, they'll hang him with enough rope. And he is making some replacements, but there was this one guy that he kicked out. It's the guy I think it's the guy that was in charge of actually distributing the funds of the stimulus package. And apparently, I don't know his name. This is all happening very quickly. So, and this is just coming into my head, but this guy wound up, he was a guy that was very tough about 9/11. Like he was around asking a lot of questions post 9/11, going back to the Bush administration. He just got kicked to the curb. And I don't know what that's about. So Trump is pretty good at firing these underlings. What he's not really good at is getting the overlings out. I mean, I guess Bolton would be considered a victory, but why he ever let Bolton in the first place, one can only imagine. Again, maybe he wants to get the intel and the skinny. I mean, who these people are. You know who these people are. You know the lords and masters that they serve. How much more information do you need? How much more evidence do you need to understand that John Bolton's a war hawk neocon? Did you have him in there for a while just to placate your masters? And then after a while, made life so, insufferable for John Bolton that on his own volition he leaves? I guess so. I mean, maybe that's a way to go. Maybe. Anyway, Birx's daughter is on the Gates Foundation. Fauci, of course, through the 2 different organizations that I talked about yesterday. Number one, the CDC, obviously, and the NIAID, NIAID, the allergy and infectious disease group. Gates has funneled hundreds of millions of dollars into. So Bill Gates has created this web of influence and this web of money that he is now really activating at this point in time. And then you have this woman who essentially was sending money, aka Dr. Burks, over to Ukraine, so that through her AIDS project and her AIDS research, and then Maria Yanovich, right, this woman comes back and starts to testify against Trump during the impeachment proceedings. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Can't you see this? I'm sure he can. But you remember now, this is a guy who, when he was talking with Bill Gates, kept asking Bill Gates about the difference between HPV and HIV. And maybe Trump really was much more on the ball than Gates is giving him credit for. But he certainly was mocking him during that video. And I hope he sees that. I hope he gets that. What's a bit disturbing here is this whole idea of the passport vaccine. And Maria Bartiromo, who is a big Trump supporter, openly talked about that yesterday, apparently on Fox News, or this morning on Fox News. just came across my screen. So now we have somebody who's in the kind of the pocket of the right, not quite the alternative media, but somebody who is, about less about progressive ideals or less about democratic ideals, theoretical democratic ideals, not real ones, by the way. And now she's promoting this idea of the vaccine passport. Now, China's already implementing this. China's already said you can go about your business. You can go about your business as long as you have an app on your cell phone that essentially allows us to track you, track your whereabouts, and be able to, go where you need to go or where we want you to go. And there's also going to be some level of certification that you got the damn vaccine. And she was actually promoting this today. And if she's a Trump supporter, it's going to be interesting now to see how this trickles into the Trump camp. Like, who's going to start to promote the vaccine on the Trump side? Because now Trump has been, invested in chloroquine. He's been invested in that. There's also been this revelation that, one of Trump's companies might have a stake in chloroquine. I don't really give a shit. It's like we're beyond the aha and gotcha moment, because I could give you any politician. You just throw a dart, put them all up on a board and throw a dart, and I'll find you an investment that they're involved with that has or has been or will be part of some national crises. Okay. So this idea that all these other politicians are clean and somehow exempt from their ability to take advantage of and become prosperous due to their positions is just ridiculous. But they'll do anything in their power to use this against Trump and, divide and conquer the people and divide and conquer the country. It is just getting so fucking old, and people are getting so fucking tired. Grow up, put on your big boy pants, your big girl pants. They're all corrupt. They all have their fingers in all these different pies. And the sooner you understand that, the better. Virtue is a commodity that is reserved for people that are outside of that system. When you go into that system, there's a very great possibility that you sacrifice your virtue. Now, apparently, Rand Paul has recovered from coronavirus, and Rand Paul, is this guy that is attached to his father, and he's very different than his father in a lot of ways. He has some of his father's traits and characteristics, but he's much closer in a lot of ways to Mitch McConnell, who is his state mate, than his father, Ron. He's sort of like a hybrid of Mitch McConnell and Ron Paul, his father. But Rand Paul will be used to sell certain parts of whatever this agenda is moving forward. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens as the drumbeat for the vaccine is going to be beaten harder and harder by various people in the media and other quote unquote sectors of the so-called government, and how the Trump administration responds to this. So this is going to be a very interesting test in time for the MAGA people and even people on the Q side of things. What happens when there is a broad support for vaccine within the Trump administration. And even Trump himself, who's been anti-vaccine to some degree in the past, comes out and says, this is what we need to do. This is where we need to go. Is the spin going to be, well, this is going to be the good vaccine? Is it just like the good 5G? This is going to be the good 5G. This is going to be the good vaccine. Don't worry. What they're doing is they're heading this off at the pass because Bill Gates has the bad vaccine. Like, what fucking difference does it matter at that point? Do you still want the government to tell you and to mandate that you're going to take something into your body that you can and should not consent to, if that is your right? Does it matter if it's a good vaccine or a bad vaccine at that point? You got to start to ask yourself these questions, because I guarantee you the spinners are going to start to come out. They're going to start to spin the vaccine thing. Oh, it's a good vaccine. He's got the good vaccine. They've got the bad vaccine. Don't worry. Trust the process. Trust the process. Where we go one, we go all. So let's all take the good vaccine. We've got it covered. Don't worry. Trust POTUS. I'm being a little cynical here, but I have to, because unless I am cynical and slightly, hopefully a bit humorous, that you will simply accept what's coming in your direction, that you won't question it. You won't think about it, and you need to think about it, and you need to question it. I'll share a little story from my past around this whole idea of questioning something. So long time ago, back in the crazy 90s, I was part of what they would call a psychedelic shamanic journey group. And it was in Northern California. And it was in Sebastopol, Petaluma area, which I've been talking about recently. It's a kind of an interesting area. Ions is there. The whole polycloth thing went down there. Genesis Peorage, who just died, was living there. And so was Terrence McKenna. So it was a very interesting kind of place and time. So I'm with this group. And I did this journey with them one time. And it was a very intense, very, very intense journey, very intense situation. And it was held in this house in the Sebastopol Petaluma area. And it was, the garage had been converted to this sort of journey space. Okay. And everything was deeply interior with blindfolds on. And there were speakers kind of all around this place. And this guy who was this so-called shaman, who turned out to be a fraud of a human. Not to say that his shamanic credentials weren't bona fides. He'd studied with Maria Sabina and knew Salvador Roquette and all those people down in Mexico that were very early on the scene. John Lilly was down there. So he came out of that world. So he had his bona fides, in my estimation, that kind of qualified him. But just because you have that doesn't mean you're going to use them as a badge of honor or a badge of courage in some ways. So anyway, I was in this situation, and let's just say, there was a moment of, the sort of the sacramental moment, right? With, ungos, the ungos moment. If you speak Spanish, you know what I'm talking about. So there was that moment, and then everything gets kicked up, blindfolds go on, the music comes on, all these different speakers, mixers, off into another part of the galaxy, right? So as I'm just, kind of getting my astral legs under me, I hear this voice, and the voice says, "Robert, open your mouth." I'm like, oh, what's going on now? So I'm in this moment, right? I'm like, okay, I'm here. I'll open my mouth. And then when that happens, it was like something was placed in my mouth that was, how shall we say, very potent. Okay. And I have this holy shit moment. And it was like, holy shit. What? I know where this is going to take me. I'm like, and I'm already on the rings of Saturn right now. And I know where this is going to take me. So for the next 5 hours, I was in a very different place, a very, very different place. And so I'm going to skip the details around that. So It was like, okay, well, you're in now, so you get to go to another one of these, and there's another level after that, which I'm not going to get into. But I had this thought in my head, right? I had this thought in my head, like, okay, if I'm going to go back there, I have to have a moment where I say no, right? I have to say no to something, because when I say no to that thing, then I have volition. It's a moment of volition. And so same deal, same setting, right? Same ritual. And then there's the Robert, open your mouth, please. And in that moment, I'd already come to the conclusion that I was going to say no, because I wanted that moment to be of volition. And I just didn't want to like follow the order, even though theoretically it would be beneficent for me. And so I said no. And I kept saying no again and again and again. This was on purpose. And then what happened with me with that experience is that it broke my relationship with that group, and it broke my relationship with what they were going through. And then again, coming back to Tim Leary's death, and then I talked about this the other night, that I met some people from that group at Tim Leary's eulogy in Grace Cathedral, and they told me about excuse me. They told me about the shenanigans that went on with the so-called shaman, and how essentially what he was doing. And this is a guy, you got to understand, this is a guy who was like in his 70s. He was blind in one eye, didn't have a lot of sight in the other. He had no pineal gland. Wrap your head around that. But he was basically stooping a lot of the female members of this group. And so, but when I said no, it took me out of that space. I was like, I was no longer a part of this group. And that's when I found out about this, from these people. And they told me about everything that was so scandalous and breaking this group in two. And of course, even Mr. Old Shaman, one-eyed shaman guy, couldn't keep his his quill out of the well, so to speak. So the reason I'm sharing this with you is because saying no in that moment created a whole different reality for me, and it actually freed me up from this kind of pit of what's the word I'm looking for? This kind of pit of immorality in a lot of ways, hypocrisy, a pit of hypocrisy. So when I heard that story, it's like, gee, I'm really glad I said no, right? So I'm sharing this with you because there's going to come a time where you're going to have to say no to something. You're going to have to say no. And even if it feels like it's coming from a direction that is benevolent and has your best interests at heart, you're going to have to roll the dice, and you're going to have to say no at some point. So only you know where your no is. You better know where your no is, because if you don't know where your no is, somebody else will turn it into a yes. And it can't be maybe. You can't be sitting on a fence. Can't. You got to know. You got to know where the no is. You got to be Dr. No. All right. And that comes with the whole vaccine thing, because they're going to start to push this in a big way. Getting back to the mask thing, though, which really, again, I've been thinking about, is that there's this theory, and it's actually a very very good theory, that social distancing allows for biometrics and AI to be able to target people and identify them much easier. Like, it's very hard for AI to make out faces in a crowd where there's literally hundreds or thousands of people. When there's social distancing, and social distancing is not going to go away, I guarantee you, it's not going to go away. Interesting number too, 6, right? 6 is an interesting number. 6 feet. You get 3 people together, and they have to be 6 feet apart. Well, do the math on that. So what's interesting about the mask thing is that the mask or the bandana or whatever people are being asked to wear, not the N95 masks, they're not being asked to wear those because only professionals should be wearing those. But the mask thing is interesting because you put on a mask and you put on some sunglasses, and good luck AI and biometrically scanning your facial recognition. Now, if you get a test or you get an injection, well, then you're basically a biometric radio station, and it doesn't matter what you wear in your face. You're identified from head to toe. So wrap your head around that. I'm just saying that no vaccine is a good vaccine. No vaccine is a good vaccine. And it's not about the vaccine itself. It's about somebody putting something into your body against your will. You know, you may say the vaccine is a good vaccine, like there's a good version of 5G. You know, there's some people say, well, it doesn't matter. I'm just a being of light. I'm a light being. I can take that vaccine and I can transmute it into a superpower. Go ahead, give me the vaccine. I'll show you what I can do with that vaccine. Maybe there's some truth to that. If that's your mindset and you could turn that vaccine into a superpower, God bless you. Maybe it's just easier to say no. Let me show you what we're up against here. This is how they're recording deaths now with the CDC. Important document. Here we go. This is a National Vital Statistics System. The National Vital Statistics System. The new ICD code introduced for COVID-19 deaths. March 24, 2020. The new ICD code for coronavirus 2019 is UO7.1, and below is how it will appear in formal tabular list format. Don't you just love this shit? Don't you just love these laws and codes? One will be implemented immediately. Will COVID-19 be the underlying cause? The underlying cause depends upon what and where conditions are reported on the death certificate. However, the rules for coding and selection of the underlying cause of death are expected to result in COVID-19 being the underlying cause more often than not. Okay? Wrap your head around that paragraph. I'll read it again for you. The underlying cause depends upon what and where conditions are reported on the death certificate. What and where? Well, okay. Well, what is the motherfucker had a heart attack? Where? Right here in this hospital. However, the rules for coding and selection of the underlying cause of death are expected to result in COVID-19 being the underlying cause more often than not. Oh, he had a heart attack. I guess it was that COVID-19. Yeah, mark it off there. Yep. Mark it off there. Oh, yes, he had a brain tumor. His brain was bleeding. He's bleeding down his brain. Yeah, I know. Emergency situation. I'm sure that COVID-19 accelerated that, exacerbated that. Just mark that, okay? Yeah, mark that. He was shot. This guy's got a gunshot wound. He's bleeding from a gunshot wound. Well, you know why? He was not home, so he was not home. He was out. He was out running around trying to get food, and he got robbed, and he got shot, and he should have been at home. That's a COVID-19 death. Come on now, check that box. Should COVID-19 be reported on the death certificate only with a confirmed test? Question mark. COVID-19 should be reported on the death certificate for all decedents where the disease caused or is assumed to have caused or contributed to death. Certifiers should include as much detail as possible based on their knowledge of the case, medical records, laboratory testing, etc. If the decedent had other chronic conditions such as COPD, you know me, or asthma that may have contributed, these conditions can be reported in Part 2 See attached guides for certifying COVID-19 deaths. So if you've got asthma, COPD, popcorn lung from smoking out of a vape pipe, which may have not even been popcorn lung from the vape pipe, you're going to be COVID-19. Let's say you're a woman and man and a woman living together or partners. We don't have to like go binary on this stuff. But let's say you're at house arrest, soft house arrest, and you can't stand the fact that you've been in the same house with somebody for the last month, and your relationship was already rocky on the rocks, and this thing is not making it any better, and you decide to plunge a carving knife into your partner's jugular vein. I bet you that would be a COVID-19 related death too. Oh yeah, absolutely. The patient came in and he was bleeding from the jugular vein, and it appeared that a sharp object had been inserted in the said person's jugular vein. Upon further investigation and review, the partner was suffering under the stress of being home through the quarantine. And the quarantine, of course, being connected to COVID-19, this would be a COVID-19 related death. Go ahead, mark that box. The rules of engagement are being changed. Dr. Steven Schwartz, PhD, Director of Vital Statistics, National Center for Health Services. 3311. What an address for that, huh? Place 3311, Toledo Road, Hydesville, Maryland. Thank you, Dr. Steven Schwartz, for your service. I got plenty of stuff here today. Plenty of stuff. I could go all day. This is something that disturbed me. I found this to be a bit disturbing yesterday. And of course, when I find things to be disturbing, I have to exercise the demon of their disturbance from my own being. And together we can also exercise the disturbance of the event from our collective being. But there's also a bit of a commentary piece here that I want to share with you. Here we go. So this guy decided to take his paddleboard out on a little cruise here in Southern California, Malibu. And do you ever watch The Prisoner? You ever watch that TV show, The Prisoner? You should be watching The Prisoner, by the way. You should be definitely watching The Prisoner. Anyway, when the prisoner would try to escape, number 6, Patrick McGowan, there would be these giant white balls that would pop out of the ocean, these orbs, and they would be these intelligent orbs that would basically knock you down. Sometimes they could absorb you and put you in the ball, in the orb, and then take you back to where you were trying to break out from. And sometimes it actually kill you. And we're not quite as sophisticated there yet, but watch what happens here.
He's screwed. Now he's got this guy. This guy's coming in. Let's see the highway pursuit. Oh my God, look at this. He cut him off. Throw the tacks down. Pop the tires. Oh my God. Spray him with a hose. Uh-oh. Sheriff boat. Uh-oh, he's screwed. Now he's got this guy. This guy's coming in. Let's see the highway pursuit. Oh my God, look at this. He cut him off. Throw the tacks down. Pop the tires. Oh my God. Spray him with a hose.
All right. So here's a guy who is clearly practicing, whoops, sorry about that, practicing social distancing. Okay. He's out in the ocean. He is out on the ocean. And what has he got? He's got the lifeguards and he's got the Coast Guard who ultimately wind up arresting him and putting him in cuffs. And then you have these jerk offs who are capturing this and they're laughing. They're thinking it's great. They're thinking it's really fun, really funny. Ha ha, ha fucking ha. And then they say, why don't you turn the water cannons on them? You know what that's like? Have you ever seen the videos of the Palestinians who are trying to fish? Just trying to fucking fish. And then these Israeli boats will come out and then hit them with their water cannons to keep them from fishing. Have you ever seen those videos? If they're still on YouTube, you should check it out. The guy is actually promoting the same kind of behavior. You know, this is kind of like the Stanford prison experiment gone live. You know what the guy on who's capturing on his cell phone should have been saying, "Hey, let's go swim out there and help that dude. Let's go. Let's get out there and let's form a circle around this guy." You know, that's what dolphins do. You know, when a dolphin is going to be threatened, what do the dolphins do? They circle in a pod, right? They circle and they do not let, like if a dolphin's having a birth, that's what they do. They protect their dolphins. They protect one of their own. What do? We fucking take cell phone photos and make jokes about it. Okay. That's what we do. And so who is more evolved? Who's more evolved? Who's more de-evolved? Welcome to America 2.0. Okay. Welcome to it. And I show you these things so that you can understand where we're at. I'm not saying that's where we're going to be. This is how this thing is evolving. I got another one that really fries my ass. Hold on a second. Well, I'm going to play this for you. I'm not going to break the continuity of the show. It's not even a play. It's a show. It's a share. And again, it talks to and speaks to where we are, right? Where we are right now. And every state is different. California, Uber Alles sends out the Navy and the Coast Guard to take down a paddleboarder. So what do we have here now is, I got to find this thing. Where is it? There's so much Bill Gates stuff up here. Let me see. Let's get rid of that. Here it is. Okay, I got to do something different here. Hold on. Give me 1 second. There it is right here. It's already trending on Google search. So it's very easy for me to find. Let me show this to you. This is from, I guess, a website here in Texas called Our Community Now. I don't know anything about this website, but it was trending first on the story that I'm about to show you. So, Colorado man arrested while playing t-ball at park with daughter for violating social distances. Did Brighton police take social distancing enforcement a little too far? Do you think? Brighton, Colorado resident Matt Mooney was playing t-ball with his wife and daughter in an open space backing up to Donaldson Park on Sunday afternoon. He was approached by 3 Brighton police officers. They told him that the park was closed and that he and his family were violating social distancing guidelines. Now, notice that's not a law. That's not a law. It's a guideline. It's a guideline. Your apartment has guidelines. Your HOA has guidelines. They are not laws. The officers asked to see identification, but Mooney, 33, refused as he was confident he was doing nothing wrong. It is your right to refuse identification. It is your right, unless you're being held for a crime, unless you're being arrested. It is your right to say, show me your ID. Let me see your ID. And you could say, my name is Matt, and that's all you got to say. The family was technically playing in an open space, but the adjacent Donaldson Park should not have been closed to them either, as the posted sign states. To engage in outdoor activity, individually or in groups of no more than 4 persons, parks remain open for walking, hiking, biking, running, and similar activities, 6 feet apart. They're playing t-ball. There was nobody around. Nobody around. So I'm going to play you the video here. Let's see if this guy is cackling or if he's actually going to insert himself.
Yeah, it's Sunday, and the Brighton police are apparently arresting a dad for throwing a ball to his daughter in complete isolation in a park of about, 30, 40 acres. But apparently that is not allowed by Brighton. According to our police, he's not allowed to do it. He's being taken away. He's being taken away by the Brighton police.
Taken away by the Brighton police. About 10 minutes in the patrol car, Mooney was released when the officers realized he wasn't really violating any orders. But he's still appalled at the situation. He was arrested in a park area that was open to him in front of his little girl. Talk about trauma. He is hoping for a quick and public apology from the police department. During this time, none of the officers were wearing any personal protective equipment. It could have exposed me to COVID-19. Yeah, I never got an apology or anything. Assholes. I don't want that right now. Let me go back. Just trying to find, I could talk about this. Here, hold on. Here's Brighton, Colorado, right here. Maybe you should give him a call. Maybe you should give him a call and find out if Matt Mooney got his apology. There's their phone number right there, 305-665-2000, 303-665-2000. Maybe you can see if Matt got his apology. Maybe get some clarity on Brighton for your community. The slow creep of the creeps. I'm telling you what's going to happen. This is not rocket science, especially astrologically, as we have Mars in Aquarius squaring off against Uranus in Taurus, and wait till the moon comes ripping around in Scorpio this weekend, getting into a nasty T-square. Just wait till that happens. At some point, you're going to have somebody who is down on their luck, pissed off, lost their job, is going hungry. And whether they're real or not, that's going to be the other thing too, right? Because we got to watch out for the deep fake and for the new activation of psychological operation. But I'm sure there will be one member of the human tribe, maybe more, who feel cornered. There are already people committing suicide now, apparently, because of this this COVID-19, right? They're committing suicide. That's out there. The news is out there on that. But there's going to be somebody who's going to say, fuck it. I know this is going to be the case. They're going to say, fuck it. They're going to be in an area where they're supposed to be social distancing, and they won't be. And guess what's going to happen? They're going to call the cops out, and somebody's going to pop out a firearm, and somebody's going to die. I guarantee you it'll happen. It'll happen. And when that happens, guess what? We go up another level. Everything gets ratcheted up another level. And they're waiting for that. They're waiting for that next level. They're waiting for the dog who's getting poked continuously to eventually snarl and snap back. It'll happen. It'll happen. Now, why didn't the guy with the camera and a bunch of other people walk over there and confront the cops? Why didn't they do that? I mean, it's not as bad as the asshole in Malibu cheering the Coast Guard boat to fire the water cannon on the dude. I mean, that's just flat out sadistic. And you wonder why society has become the place that it is. You have somebody who is kind of a willing non-participant, and then you have another person who, if they got him on the boat, would be the first guy to fire the goddamn cannon. And that's how we got here. We have a group of basically passive observers, and then we have a group of sadists in training. When is the tribe, when is the pod going to protect the pod? When is that going to happen? When are we going to circle like the dolphins, circle the dolphin in distress or the dolphin that's giving birth? When is that going to happen? Is it before the drones are unleashed? Or is it after? If it's after, it's going to be very, very difficult. And we can see what's happening. You don't have to be Nostradamus to see what's happening. I have faith. I do have faith in people. I have faith that this is the wake-up process. I have faith this is the alarm clock of the spirit. I have faith in that. And we've been asleep for a very long time. We have been the Rip Van Winkles of history, and we're waking up. And it's not a waking up out of hate. It's not a waking up out of segregation. It's not a waking up of us, you versus me. It's not a waking up on those terms. It's not. It's a waking up of the fact that all of a sudden the cage it's sort of like they've taken away the veil of the cage. And it's like, oh, what's going on here? It's been here all along. It's been here all along. The free range society just got moved into the hen house, but it's been here all along. Free range chickens get 15 to, 15 to 20 yards of free space or whatever. Well, great. And, and then eventually moving back into the hen house. And that's what's happening. But people are waking up. And I do have faith in the awakening process, or else I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be doing this every day. And I wouldn't be chiming in and supporting my fellow humans as a result of all this. I'm just showing you the landscape. Before I go, I wanted to bring up this character, this fellow, and the reason why. Here, let me go back here. Let's find this. Okay. Now, here we go. Here's Fox News. We know Fox News is in the promotion of grooming the so-called conservatives or the so-called rights. That's what they're here to do, with the exception of Tucker Carlson, who is the outlier. And it almost feels like they have to leave him on in some ways in order for them to perpetuate the rest of their agenda, some kind of occult practice. Tucker revealing what's hidden in plain sight. Coronavirus vaccine, meet the American company that will help mass produce it. Okay, you see what's happening here? They're getting you primed to take this coronavirus vaccine. Dyadic International works with scientists around the world to try and solve the crisis. Affordable coronavirus vaccine could be supplied by my company. This is Mark Immelfarb. Mark Immelfarb. You could have a field day creating a word jumble out of that, couldn't you? Coronavirus panic has ravaged global markets, driving stocks to their worst weekly loss since 2008 financial crisis. Fears continue to mount, despite reassurances from everyone, from President Trump to Fed Chair Jay Powell. Now the CEO of the biotech firm Dyadic International is joining the chorus, but his reassurance comes in the form of a potential vaccine. In an exclusive interview, Dyadic CEO Mark Immelfarb told Fox Business Trish Reagan Friday that his company has the technology that will allow them to mass produce a vaccine should one get approved in the next several months. We've developed a technology platform that we've been developing for years, over 2.5 decades, to make proteins at a large scale at a very low cost. I'm going to show you what his company is about. Okay. We're going to do just a little bit of a next layer with Mark Emilfarb. Emilfarb's company is working with EU, Israeli, and US scientists to help turn their discoveries into large amounts of dosages at affordable prices, to have sufficient quantities to treat a world population. Like, the world is not going to go back to where it was until everybody gets the fucking vaccine. You understand that? They are not going to allow the world to return to whatever state it was in prior to 311. 311. Oh my God. Why did I not think about this? Holy shit. Holy shit. 311 is the day that Fukushima happened. 311 is the day that Fukushima happened. 311 is the day that everything flipped. Wow. Interesting. Interesting. So what do we come? We got 311, 611. That's the day you should pay attention to. June 11th. Pay attention to that day. On the pharmaceutical side, it's very productive. But things are going to be back to normal until you get the freaking vaccine. Plain and simple. Those are the rules of engagement. And once you get the vaccine, it's like, okay, everybody's safe now. Until, of course, there's the next thing. In shocking news today, the coronavirus has returned. And unlike the last strain of coronavirus, this one is even deadlier. You'll have some medical wonk, maybe Bill Gates. Well, it seems as though the coronavirus has mutated, and now we have another version of the coronavirus. Luckily, we've been working on next level vaccines where we can not only eradicate this version of the coronavirus, but we've got something new now. It's called a smart vaccine. And the way that this vaccine has been put together and synthesized is where we take the best practices of medicine and the best practices of nanotechnology, and we've merged them to create a smart vaccine. So this vaccine will operate at a level where it is always scanning the viral intruders of your body. And as it scans the viral intruders of your body, it will make adjustments in real time. It will actually guide and direct your cells to go after the new viral invaders. So this vaccine will be the most effective vaccine we have ever developed. You know that's coming. Currently, there are over 83,000 confirmed cases of coronavirus worldwide, and 22,800 people have died due to the outbreak. Well, really, have they died due to the outbreak? I just showed you the CDC's little checklist. You may want to slash that in half. All right, so who is Mark Emilfarb? And what is Dyadic? Mark Emilfarb. Located West Palm Beach, Florida. This guy went to the University of Iowa, and what did he study? Journalism. He's a journalist. And he was University of Iowa NC2A Championship Wrestling Team 75 to 77. What does Dyadic do? I am the founder of Dyadic International Inc., which is now focused on applying the C1 technology platform to develop and improve the performance of biologic vaccines and drugs while simultaneously lowering the cost of manufacturing. I am looking for individuals and private and public organizations that have the vision and passion to join us in our quest to bring more affordable treatments to a greater number of patients while helping to ease the burden biologic drugs are having on patients in the global healthcare systems. I have a broad and growing network of relationships, which are spread throughout all areas of biotechnology, with my current focus being on biopharmaceuticals. In-depth knowledge of biotechnology from both the business and the science side, and how it can be applied to commercialization for the diverse multi-billion dollar markets. Diverse multi-billion dollar markets. My past experience in industrial biotechnology led to the development and licensing of our C1 technology platforms to companies such as, check this out now, BASF, Shell Oil, Abengoa, and others, leading to the sale of Dyadic's industrial biotechnology business to DuPont for $75 million on 12/31/2015. Specialties: biopharmaceuticals, biologics, biosimilars, antibodies, vaccines, gene expression, protein expression, MABs, monoclonal, clonal antibodies, they have bispecific antibodies, so they have trans antibodies, industrial enzymes. Here's the thing you want to pay attention to: biofuels. Biofuels. He essentially started this company out as a biofuel company. And when we're talking about biofuels, what are we talking about? We're talking about the green economy. So here's a little, there's a guy here that's given him like an attaboy. Where's the attaboy? Here, this is it. Okay, so this came in 2008. So this gives you an idea of where Mark Emmelfarb in Dyadic started. All right, this is a guy, he's chief legal officer, general counsel. I don't know if he still is, maybe he is. Adam worked with Mark, but at different companies. Okay, so let's not be confused. He's not working at Dyadic now. Every time I fill up my vehicle with fuel that costs more than $3.50 per gallon, I find myself thinking of Mark Emmelfarb and the promise that his company's technology offers us all in the future. Mark is an expert on cellulosic ethanol and has devoted his adult life toward communicating the benefits of his company's enzymes that break down agricultural waste, not corn that we eat, I'm not sure what he's talking about, into sugar, which in turn can be converted into ethanol. Alternative fuel sources and those technologies that help us unlock those sources are the next Googles of investment opportunities. Mark has been tenacious and selfless in working to commercialize this technology in the face of many obstacles and challenges. Along with leaders of a handful of other companies, he represents one of the founding fathers of an industry that will ultimately provide the answers to our decreasing reliance on foreign oil. So his accomplishment is development of mature fungal technology and production platform from industrial enzymes based on a mycelium thermophilia isolate, previously known as Chrysosporium lucnoense, also known as C1. C1, okay, C1. What is he talking about here? Applying the C1 technology platform to develop and improve the performance of biologic vaccines. So this guy starts off in the realm of biofuels, figures out that there is a fungus or a fungal agency that will break down cellulose, also known as plant waste, and out of that, it will excrete a sugar, right? It will excrete a sugar, and that sugar is the same synthesis that is used to create alcohol. So he's basically figured out that there is a fungal component. And now he wants to use that C1 platform and that fungal component to be able to be transformed and used into the next realm of his company's mission, moving from the actual creation of a biofuel into the creation of a vaccine. So this guy is doing a pivot. That's what he's doing. He's doing a pivot. So I don't know how the technology translates into vaccines. I'm not sure how it actually works, but I'm doing my best to break it down for you in real time because I just got into this yesterday. So this is a company and this is a guy that you're going to be hearing a lot about. And where is he? He's in West Palm Beach, Florida, right? And it seems like a lot of these oligarchy types hang out in that area. West Palm Beach, Jupiter. You know the zip codes. They're all hanging out with each other, doing business together. So there you go. Here's you're going to be your new vaccine savior, Mark Immelfarb, former journalism major and wrestler at Iowa State. Okay, let me get in with you guys. Let's see where you're at. Getting ready to roll out of here. Somebody tell Emily there's sugar in biofuel. Biofuel's programmable matter. Guy got paid off. He got $75 million from DuPont. Just say no to fungi. Yes, agree. But smart cars will only drive places on the map. That's right. Let's see what else we have here. Why is a food source being used to make fuel? There's lots of fossil available. Well, that's true. There is lots of fossil available. But if you are paying attention to the news and paying attention to the Sturm und Drang and the propaganda machine, fossil fuels are bad. Fossil fuels are going to run out, right? Well, that's a bunch of bullshit. Fossil fuels are not going to run out. They're never going to run out. You can overpump a well, but the earth is abiotic and the earth is always creating oil. It's not about dead vegetation. It's not about dead dinosaurs. It's not even, shouldn't be called a fossil fuel. There's no fossil about it. Maybe it's a fossil and that's a relic as an energy source, but it has nothing to do with fossils or fuel. Let's see, what else we have? What year did chips begin to be inserted in cars? Chips began to be inserted in cars in 1990. If you want to get a pre-chip car, you got to get a 1989 or older. There's the answer to that question. And they're so cheap, it's losing margin. What else do we have here? Brings to mind Emily's programmable sugar theory. Yeah, so let's think about that for a moment. That's a really good point, Ani. So let's say they're actually using the C1 platform and this fungal agent to create a fermentation, because that's what fungal agents do. So when you have something like Jun, right? You have Jun, that Jun stuff. And what you do is you have a mushroom and the mushroom ferments. So it creates sugar. And you have the Jun, which has become marketed everywhere now. So yes, now if that process is going into the vaccine, and you're essentially having a fermentation or a form of sugar that is being used to deliver the vaccine, then it's right up Emily's realm or theory of programmable matter. So now we've got a vaccine combining with this kind of C1 platform, which is what this guy Mark Dyadic is talking about, and they're combining the realm of fermentation, sugars, and vaccines. Talk about programmable. This would be the trifecta for Emily. I had a book a long time ago that proved all cancers are fungal. I would say that in the majority of those cases, that's correct. Go keto fasting. Yeah, I've dumped sugar. To the best of my ability, I've dumped sugar. You might be able to see it, right? Like my physiognomy is different. I've done this on purpose. And so dumping sugar, dumping alcohol, dumping, the things that have kept me from, being online in my own body has been a real discipline. So anyway, I love the title of that book, Misty. Ferments actually consume the sugar. I guess. I mean, when you have a fermentation process with alcohol, it's very high in sugar. Alcohol is high in sugar. I mean, I guess it breaks down the sugar, but maybe it creates a different sugar. I don't know. I'm not a chemist, but I do know that fermentation is also connected to the production of alcohol. And if you let alcohol get fermented enough, like what you'll get? You'll get a sweet fucking wine, okay? You will get a sweet wine if you let it ferment enough. And there's a high degree of sugar, natural sugars in wine. Somebody say that's good for you, right? If you're using something along the lines of corn or barley or any kind of a grain or even rice, the fermentation process will wind up being sugar oriented. That's my understanding. The process, complex sugars. Candida cocktail, also true. All right. I got to leave you something positive, don't I? Because that's what we do here. So what's the most positive thing I can think about today? Most positive thing I can think about today and look at today is the fact that I'm seeing people in this town. I have a window of the world right here. I get to look right across to the grammar school, and I see people running, jogging, walking together. I rode my bike around yesterday, and I saw people walking together in twos. They weren't social distancing, so I was almost ready to report them, but I didn't. No, I would never do that. But I'm seeing more and more of this take place. More and more of this take place, and to me, that's a really good thing. You know, the upside to all of this, if you can stay out of, and I know I get on here and I rant a little bit and I show you some things that are important to look at, but really the other side of this is, you know, we talk about the reset, or I talk about the reset, but I talk about the reset in a kind of a very specific sort of way. Well, we're having our own resets. We're having our own individual resets. And if you can hone in on that and really, really focus on the reset that's taking place in your own life right now, that is the most empowering message that I can share with you at the end of today's show, is that each and every one of us is going through our own reset. And as a result of that, as we move into the divergent path of the world that's really we're moving towards, right? The true node in Gemini, where the paths go like this, that your reset takes you on the path that you're supposed to be on. And your timeline, your own personal timeline, readjusts and shifts as a result of the reset that we're all going through now. So take time out to do what you need to do. Take time out to find yourself or re-find yourself or refine parts of your life that you may have left behind because your schedule has become so busy. I think this is the most vital thing that we can do, because we want all of us, not just part of us, as we move forward. You know, this is kind of like soul retrieval in real time, where we're at right now. And I like it because when we're out in the world, you know, I did this reading for somebody yesterday, and it was a really, really, I thought it was a good reading. And they wanted to get to like why tragedy has happened to them. Why did their daughter die? Why did these women who this person was very close to die? Why were they continuing to be in this kind of bardo of dissatisfaction and disagreement with their husband? So I decided to cast a draconic chart to look at what's going on in the soul level, because you ask those deep questions, you got to get to a deep place. And what I saw was mind blowing for me with this person. That when I cast a draconic chart, their sun was at 29 degrees Pisces in the 12th house. I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible, right? You asked some soul questions, you're getting soul answers. And for me, it was very, very clear what it meant in that chart. And I tried to describe that and articulate that to this person. And the reason I'm saying this or sharing this now is because if we're not engaged in the realm of the personality, and what is the realm of the personality? Your personality helps you through the first house get up and have your routines. You get up early, you do this, you do that, you do this, you do that. In many cases, a lot of you would go off to a job. Not everybody in Chatlandia, because you seem like you hang out here every morning. So I think Chatlandia is kind of like already in the next paradigm. But a lot of you who are not here or don't show up every day, this is part of your ritual, right? So you go through all these things. You have your relationships. There are people you work with that you like, people to work with you don't like, right? Maybe you go out to lunch with people. Maybe you squeeze in a workout. Then there are things that are related to that part of your life in other ways. Maybe there are activities that are connected to those people or those groups, or activities in general, right? Activities in general. And you can't meet. You can't go down to the bowling alley and go hang out with your bowling team. That's not happening right now. So all those things, all those activities, in a lot of ways, are markers of what we would call the personality. That your personality is engaged in these things so you can have experiences. And the experiences bring you understanding. It brings you potentially wisdom or knowledge. It brings you connection and human emotion. But those are all really important things. But for the most part, we're not in that realm right now. So this time is not the time of the personality, right? This is the time of the soul. We're in soul time. We're in non-time. And our souls operate at a very different level, at a very, very different time-space continuum than the personality does. So this is a time for everybody to get in touch with their souls. It's a really, really important time for that. And it's like soul retrieval in real time. Get what you need, figure out what you need, figure out what you can bring back into your life to rebraid it in a way that is meaningful and powerful. And it also works out in the realm of relationships as well, right? There are certain elements that the soul needs or not needs in a time, anytime when it comes to relating, right? And there are people now who are separating out from other people who just don't want to hear the message. And you know what? That's okay. You don't have to condemn those people. You can just move on, and you'll find your soul family. You'll find your soul tribe. It's inevitable. It'll happen. When you say no to one thing, the yes pops up. It's like, oh, here we are. We're over here. We've been waiting for you, right? So just take time out for your own personal reset and get into your soul. Get into your soul. All right. That's it. I wanted to talk about one other thing here. Somebody, who was it? Christine Eves. I wanted to bring this up earlier in the show, but I didn't want to forget it. She's a teacher, and she was commenting on what's going on with teachers and their kids in schools. And she left a comment on yesterday's show. And the comment is that teachers are devastated. And I know that we give people in the public school system a lot of shit. Because of how propagandized and programmed the curriculum has become, from Common Core to the adoption of very bizarre sexual and health guideline rules that are being established for kindergarten through middle school. Okay, we've covered a lot of that, and I think it deserves a great deal of criticism based on what they're force feeding our children at a very young age. That said, aside from that, here's a group of people who have had investments in the lives of children. Okay. They have relationships with these children. And I'm talking healthy relationships, not the wink, wink, nod, nod relationships. Try to keep this high level. All right. Keep the level of snark down here. And these relationships for the teachers have been interrupted. They've been interrupted. They've been broken down. And and I've worked with kids a lot through my life. I've never been a teacher in that sense, but I've been a baseball coach, manager. When I was in college, I was a recreation director, after school and summer programs. And then in my final year of college, I worked with autistic kids. So I have a, kind of investment in children and working with youth over various parts of my life. and you develop bonds and relationships with these young people, and you see the promise in them. You also see some of the real challenges and difficulties that a lot of these kids have. I remember when I was a rec director, there was this one boy, his name was Monty, and nobody was there to pick up Monty after school or after the program. Monty was there for over an hour and a half. And this was pre-cell phone era. And, it was like, I felt so sorry for this kid. So sorry for this kid. So teachers know this stuff, and they know that there are kids that have real troubles. And a lot of times school is their only respite too. Like it's their only way to get away from a bad situation. In school and the educational system, is deeply flawed. But some of the households that these kids come from are even more flawed. So the teachers in America are going through a very difficult time, and they're losing their grip on their students. They're being replaced by telelearning, and they're being reduced to check-in Zoom sessions. It's heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking for people that have a real passion around the profession and still manage to teach through the clutter and the smog that the system has created. So, certainly my heart goes out to those people. And Christine, I'm glad you brought that up. And, here's a radical thought. If you're a teacher right now, I'd go on strike. I would not be reduced to being a virtual kind of, hate to use the word here, wet nurse. If I were teachers, I'd go on strike. And teachers may say, well, I've got to have my salary and I need the benefits. Well, listen to me, teachers of America, you're on your way to being replaced. And essentially what you're doing is you're playing a secondary role to AI. And the AI is the telelearning. You're being managed out. And I know those words are harsh, but I do believe them to be true. And even if we're allowed to come back and people can come back into their schools, it will never be the same. School days may be limited. You may teach maybe one day a week. You may bring your students into the classroom on Monday, and then the rest of the week they're home telelearning, okay? And maybe that'll be part of the rollout. Certainly this school year has been closed in Austin. They're not coming back. So teachers of America, use your heads wisely in a situation like this. And if you know a teacher, somebody's a teacher, give them, a little bit of your time, a little bit of your space if they need to talk or support or whatever. All these groups are being demoralized, and they're also being marginalized. And this is not an anomaly. This is a trend and a wave of the future. And as a human family, just like the dolphins, we have to circle. The pod has to circle. All right. Thank you. I tried to leave on a high note, but I had to talk about it and try to do my best to raise it up as well. All right. Chatlandia, everybody else, love you. See you tomorrow. Friday, Howard Storm, Richard Grossinger. We got a double Scorpio Friday coming on. That's going to be interesting, right? I think we'll have a Scorpio moon on Friday. Maybe late Scorpio moon with the two Scorpion guests. That'll be really interesting. Steve, big ups on the production side. Great score with Andrew Kaufman. That was fantastic. 2 days later, David Icke's quoting Andrew Kaufman. Okay. Great score. We're going to continue to do our best to bring you high-level guests. Sayer G is going to come on the show. Don't know when. We'll figure it out. Super guy. Very informed. Love Sayer G. And, more health, more awareness, more creativity on the Friday Farcast. Of course, Sunday night Astro Live. I'll be there as well. All right. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to say what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix. Have yourself a very great day.